Hey everyone, you're welcome once again to Grief to Grace, and this is that podcast that guides you from a place of deep sorrow to a journey of hope and healing. And today I am here again. I'm your host, Ruth Hephzibah, and today's episode is really a very powerful one because we have someone who will be talking to us about healing and how you can heal from grief. So, before we dive into all this, I want you to know that every active listener on Grief to Grace that stays to the end of the episode usually gets a bonus from us. And sometimes it ranges from a book to a shirt or just something that you will really love. We always have a gift for somebody that stays to the end of this podcast. So today, um, what we have, like I said, we have a very lively and beautiful guest in the house, and I'll be introducing her. But before then, I want to talk to you more about Grief to Grace and let you know what we do here at Grief to Grace. So, at Grief to Grace, our mission is to create a safe place where we can openly discuss grief and provide tools and support needed to transform our pains into purpose. And I'm thrilled today because they will really be talking more about healing and also how we can access help through the guests that we have in the house today. So, grief is one thing that when it comes, it is difficult. If you are not intentional about it, you will be stuck there. And God gave us this mission here at Grief to Grace. In this ministry is a ministry God has given to us, and I'm super glad that we are here and we're doing what God has asked us to do. And it's becoming clearer by the day what God really desire from us. And Grief to Grace is that ministry where you can openly share, you can openly help in whatever way that you feel you can help someone. And I tell you, the stories that we share here have a way of healing someone else. The stories that we share in Grief to Grace here, I get a lot of messages, I get a lot of emails from people saying how much they've been blessed by our program. And I know that you there, you listening today, and you are also blessed and you will be blessed by this program today. If you have any story and you want to share with us, you can do that by emailing us on grief to grace now at gmail.com, and you will be able to get to across to us. And also, I will also want to introduce to you our book, which is the um, a pen that rewrites grief. That is one book that has helped me, helped a lot of persons, and is also going to help you in your journey. So today, a pen that rewrites grief is a compassionate guide that you need to navigate loss and find ways that you can follow, and you're going to you before you know it, you are working without wasting so much time anymore. Yes, I want to introduce to you our guest in the house, and she is one person that you need to meet. She is a wonderful woman of God, and she is a lady who has a mission, and her mission is to help you heal from your grief and from your trauma. So, our guest in the house is Karen Robinson. LCSW, CCTP-II, and she's a best-selling author, speaker, therapist, transformational coach, and a trauma recovery expert with over 25 years of professional experience, and founder of Healed, got it right, so to empowering trauma survivors to heal from their past. And today we have Karen in the house, and she is here to talk to you about how to heal from grief. So, how are you doing, Karen?
I am great, Ruth. Thank you so much for hosting me today.
Yes. So, Karen, I know you have a lot to share with us today. When we're talking, you said we're going to share how we can heal. So, right now, the door is open. Everything is open for you to be able to share your story and talk to us about how we can heal from all that we've been through. Thank you so much. So, the next voice you're going to hear is the voice of Karen, and she's going to share with you.
Thank you again, Ruth. It's going to be really hard to have a short conversation about grief and trauma because that's what I do every day of my life is I serve in helping survivors, empowering them to start their healing journey. And sometimes I help people at the very beginning when something terrible has happened, and sometimes it's down the road. So, what I really want to express if you are someone who just had a traumatic loss, sometimes we just expect too much of ourselves in that very initial phase. And what I tell my clients, the focus really should be on the basics. Focus on hydration, getting that water in, focus on sleep, because it's really hard to sleep when we're first suffering from something that's happened to us. So, hydration, sleep. The next one is movement, just getting out and getting a little vitamin D and moving your body a little bit. It doesn't have to be aerobic, it's just getting outside and moving your body some. And then the fourth area is taking those deep restorative breaths. So deep breathing practice. When you breathe in, you want to hold for 6 to 7 seconds and slowly release the breath like it's through a straw. And that helps control it. And what the breath will do is it will reset your parasympathetic nervous system, and it brings oxygen through your body, and it can just bring down some of the tension. Okay, so those are the 4 things I recommend when people just experience a loss. When you are further along and you're ready to do some more interventions, there's a 3-letter intervention that's really great for grief. It's called TAW. That's the abbreviation. The T stands for talking. It's really important to talk to a therapist, a coach, your partner, any friends that are willing to listen to what you have to say about the person or situation that you're grieving about. The more that you talk about it, the emotional intensity will come down. The A in the TAW stands for art. There is a lot of research that doing art, anything creative, is another way for us to express our pain, our suffering. So it can be paint, finger paints, it could be drawing, coloring. You do not have to be an artist for this to work. This is for everyone. It's just doing something with your hands. Also with art, it can be other creative projects like scrapbooking, crocheting, knitting. Just getting your hands involved in something, creating something is very healing. And the W in the TAW acronym for grief recovery, that stands for writing. And when I say writing, it's kind of like journaling or charting what you're thinking about, what you're feeling about. Let it all out. Let that pain out, that anger, that sadness, the anxieties, the frustrations. Letting that out on paper and getting it out of our body is super powerful. And again, the more that we work on the talking, the art, the writing, we will slowly start to feel better again. And, it does take time. There is no magic pill for grief and trauma. The healing can be a long time, and I want you to be okay with that. If it was easy, then there wouldn't be so much suffering, right? But the fact that there's so much suffering is these things are hard to recover from. So far I've given the 4 things to do when you're acutely suffering, the 3 things to do when you're healing from grief. And then now I'd like to talk about the 6 pillars that I teach about trauma, healing, and recovery. And I really call it my 6 pillars plus, because I'm still, after 25 years, I'm still tweaking it, right? So the first is spiritual healing. And that looks like prayer. It looks like attending church or mosque or temple, like whatever your beliefs are, being involved in your community, your faith community. It could look like spiritual devotions, whatever it is, but tapping into your faith can be super healing. And there's a lot of research that shows that people that express their faith, they recover more quickly with mental health issues, trauma, and grief. It's a comfort to have a higher power that we can turn to and talk to. The second pillar is our physical health. So when you're healing from trauma, it's really important to monitor your physical health because trauma impacts our whole body system. So trauma survivors tend to have a lot of chronic pain, migraines, stomach aches, like the IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, digestive issues. Our immunity tends to be a little lower. What else? There's a beautiful doctor from the Caribbean. Her name is Nadine Burke, and she wrote this book after working with inner city youth that had a lot of trauma, and she noticed they had really high rates of asthma. So allergies, trauma, and high levels of stress can really impact our whole body system. Back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain, that muscle tension. So when I work with a trauma survivor and they have not been taking very good care of their physical bodies, I recommend getting a full physical, getting your labs work done, your eyes checked, your ears, going to the dentist, doing all the things. Also in the physical healing pillar is the movement, getting your exercise. It's looking at your nutrition. It's also looking at mobility, like doing those deeper stretches. It could be yoga. And it also could be alternative activities. It could be acupuncture that helps your physical health. So spending time in our physical healing is really important. The third pillar is mental health. And when we talk about working with mental health and healing, we're looking at the way our brain thinks. We're looking at our belief system. And so it's really kind of studying the brain and how that works. And if we really target and monitor our thought patterns, we can actually change them. And that can help give us some relief, and it changes the emotional intensity. The next pillar is the emotional healing, and it's very similar to mental, except we're really doing a deep dive in learning how to release emotions. We're learning how to regulate the emotions, bringing that emotional intensity down. And so there's lots of beautiful techniques and therapies for that. One that comes to mind off the bat, like for the thought work, it's CBT oftentimes, That's cognitive behavioral therapy. And for the emotional work, it could be EFT, which is the tapping, which is energy work and emotional release work together. Also, the emotional health, it's when you're journaling and doing a deeper dive on the things that are really bothering you. Like, what are you holding resentments or anger about, and learning how to get that out of your body, either through movement or writing or art or talking. All that's really important. The next pillar is the energetic healing. This is looking at your chakras, your auras, learning how to release if you're around someone that's really negative and you feel like this negative vibes from them, you can wipe it off of your body, and you can pray as you're doing it if that's what you want to do. And then when you can feed yourself positive affirmations or mantras, and then you can pat them into your body to give yourself positive energy. You could do, I am worthy, I am lovable, things like that for your healing. The next pillar is called relationship healing. When we are surviving a trauma, it tends to impact not only us, but the people that are in our lives. It can impact our ability to trust, especially if there's any betrayal trauma. So that impacts our intimate relationships. It can impact our parenting, also how we get along with other family members. Sometimes trauma survivors have a hard time tolerating authority, like supervisors or bosses, especially if they're not talked to very respectfully. It can be really hard for us to tolerate. And of course, coworkers. When you work on relationship healing, you're learning the skills on really how to communicate more effectively with people, how to set boundaries, how to be more assertive. So it's pretty comprehensive. And I call it the 6+ pillars because another area that I find a lot of trauma survivors benefit from working on is their finances, their financial health. We tend to often turn to quick fixes to deal with our pain. So sometimes it's food, sometimes it's shopping, it could be gambling, it could be pornography, it could be drinking, it could be drugs. And which impact, all of that impacts finances. So survivors that can, have a budget, but also treat themselves well and investing into their care, whether that's therapy, coaching, getting massages, acupuncture. It's okay to invest in your healing, but also make sure that you are being mindful of your spending, because otherwise you're going to be stuck in the poverty cycle, right? And that happens to a lot of survivors, unfortunately. So those are my 6 pillars. And now, Ruth, if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Hey, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for sharing because I was listening at the back and I really loved what you were talking about, especially the financial part, which is one area that I know a lot of people struggle with when they get into involved in grief, if they are grieving. Because at that point, I can remember personally for me, it was at that point when I was grieving, I lost every train, everything I could do to manage my finances. And everything I realized I was doing was just wrong. I tend to spend more. I tend to shop more. I tend to do just a lot different from the way I used to do it. And I know a lot of people are in those shoes because I get a lot of people, talk to people. And when we talk about it, these are some of the issues that they face every day. And those issues are the issues that have to do with their finances. So now, for someone that is actually grieving and cannot work or is working or has gone so deep, so badly with financial usage, Do you have any advice for them on how they can manage their finances properly at this stage?
Yeah, if you're not working and I think it would just be really important to, get a full evaluation by professionals, because if you're really suffering so much that you can't work and that's going on for a long time, you want help getting on a disability plan to help your finances. And people think that government help is, a symptom of being lazy. No, it's a symptom of being struggle, and people do not get wealthy off of these meager benefits. It's meant to see you through the difficulties that come in life. And then once you're feeling better, you're getting the help that you need, hopefully you'll be able to return to doing something, productive and to make a living for yourself. So that's the first thing I would do, is try to secure some money, get some benefits.
Okay. So, when someone is grieving, basically, there are some abilities that they lose along the line. There are some things they could do before that they couldn't do anymore. So they discover that they have to relearn and learn things all over again. So now I have a question here. Is that right now I feel lost. So what do I do?
Yeah. When we feel lost, it can be such a helpless feeling. So, what I would first ask someone feeling lost is, are you having thoughts of suicide? And if that's happening, I recommend getting to an emergency department, emergency room, and getting that evaluation so you can get help faster, right? If you feel lost and you're not suicidal, it's really important to do some things, even if you don't feel like doing them. So that would be like the stepping outside and getting some sun, just a little bit, you know, getting yourself to take a small walk. When your appetite is really poor and you don't want to eat, getting one of those nutritional shakes, you know, keeping something in your body, because when we don't eat and when we don't drink, it really messes up our system and we just get worse and worse. Our blood glucose goes down and that makes us more depressed. So sipping on, I like the Fairlife protein shakes. They get 30 grams of protein. So when you're really busy or you just can't think about eating, having something like that in your system can be healing and help. It's also normal to feel really lost when you're suffering. And
Hmm,
I think it's really important to be extra kind to yourself. Give yourself extra grace. Give yourself self-compassion. And then you can say things to yourself like, I will get better. I will improve. I am worth having joy again in my life. I am worth that. And it's okay that it takes time. When we rush it, we usually just make it worse.
that's it. That's it.
Mhm.
So, are there things like, because I know you have, you do a lot of coaching and other stuff because we read all that. So, how can people reach you? Because in this situation, most times when you stuck and you don't know what to do, you need to reach out to a therapist or you need to reach out to someone who should be able to listen to you. So, how can they reach you if they need to reach you?
Yeah. 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 So the easiest way is my website, and then you can join my newsletter where you will get resources every month about my podcast and my YouTube channel. I do have like a membership for it's just women only, and it's for trauma survivors. And most of my trauma survivors have had complicated grief. And that information's on my website on how to join that. It's half coaching, half support group. There is a fee for that. If you are unable to afford that fee and really need the services, I want you to email me so I can lower the price for you. And I do that for people all the time. My email is healthrivedream@gmail.com. So healthrivedream@gmail.com if you need a discount for my membership services.
Okay, so you can reach out to her on healthrivedream.com, and that's her website, and you'll be able to reach out and learn a lot. Do you want to talk more about the Heal Thrive Dream?
Yeah, sure. Heal Thrive Dream is the name of my company. God gave me the name one day,
I
and
like it.
I was like, oh, that's got to be taken. And I was just so thrilled that it was open. We're a mother daughter company. My daughters, one is in college and she edits my blogs and some of the books I write, the chapters and stuff that I write. And then my other daughter, she designed the front of our physical journal and she helps me with graphics. So it's a mother daughter company. And our mission is to work with women all over the world. We actually have a diverse group of women. Diversity is extremely important to me. And the women around the world, we offer coaching and support groups, and we offer workbooks to work through, journaling prompts, affirmations to feed yourself positivity. We offer healing desktop wallpapers to inspire you and for your phone. And we do a free coaching intensive every month on a topic related to trauma. It could be about what happens when you don't get an apology. It can be on boundary setting, communication, like all these things are related to trauma. We do a monthly workshop on. So it's I really my passion and my mission is serving women and empowering them to heal, because I am also a complex trauma survivor of
Wow.
childhood abuse. Yes, of childhood abuse. Ran away. I had a suicide attempt in my youth.
Hmm.
Ran away from home. Had a foster family, and then excelled in my education, but then I also had some really unhealthy relationships,
Wow.
abusive relationships, until my current husband is wonderful. But I like
Wow.
to say I kissed a lot of frogs first. I had really bad luck in relationships, and it's a symptom of trauma. We
Hmm.
struggle with relationships until we work on our healing. Yeah.
Wow. Because I was just about asking, because for you to have like a Heal Thrive dream, it means maybe you've been through some stuff before, and this has really brought me back to the question I wanted to ask, which is like, what is the most challenging moment in your healing journey when you were passing through those traumatic situations in your life? Because I know a lot of people, when we're talking about grief, grief is all about is how much of the traumatic experiences you've had. Because we have people who have been, who have traumatic childhood, like you said, and they grieve it all through their life, and they don't know how to get out of it. So in your own journey, how were you able to overcome it, and what was the most challenging moments that you had?
Mm. Yeah. Well, when I ran away from home, there was a lot of domestic violence between my parents as well. And the night I ran away, I wasn't sure where I was going to go, right? And so that was very challenging. And the first couple friends I called, their families didn't want to get involved because, I'm a runaway at this point. And so I called my aunt, and I was living in Canada at the time. I called my aunt in the States, and she drove in and came to get me. And so it was a scary time. I was assigned a social worker who was not kind, not compassionate.
Mm,
He accused me of things that I didn't do. Um, I was a traumatized child, and he thought I was doing drugs. He thought I was being promiscuous. Neither was true whatsoever. But that's what, when we think about runaways, sometimes we have um, judgments against, teenagers that do this, when oftentimes they just are trying to get out of a really bad situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a turning point for me. I was like, I'm going to become someone that's really going to help people and
Hmm.
support them and not tear them down during the hardest moments of their life.
In their
So
lives. That's
that was a
true.
really hard moment. Another hard moment was going through a divorce. I was married to a man from Peru, and we had a daughter, a beautiful daughter together. And I was just so wanting that family unit to stay together no matter what was happening in the home.
Hmm.
And it just felt so completely devastating to me that I
Wow.
couldn't make it work. It takes two people to make things work. And I couldn't make it work. I couldn't make it work. And at the time I was working for the Department of Defense, and I was helping soldiers and their spouses from all over the world with their marriages, and then mine was not working. It was a very low feeling.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, what got me through is my faith. I have a very strong spiritual faith, a strong walk with God. Um, it's a huge comfort for me. I've always had a great support system in terms of really wonderful friends. I have a few close family members, not many, but a few. And now I have like three beautiful children, uh,
Wow.
and a kind husband. And so God has really seen me through. But that healing walk was not easy. I have journaled and gotten out so much anger and resentments. I've struggled with, the addiction of shopping, like you mentioned. I've struggled the
Yeah.
addiction of with sugar.
Mm.
That's really hard to beat. And so when we do deeper healing, it is about the journaling, about the meditation, about your, praying to God and reading your devotionals and getting support, whether it's a support group, therapist, really people you trust. All of that matters in your healing. And so I find I heal the best when I really put time and attention into my deeper self care, which is
Mm.
not easy. I'm a busy professional. But
Yeah.
when we take the time to breathe, to meditate, to journal, to pray, to
Mm.
walk, get support. If we do all these things, and it's a lot of work, especially if you're busy,
A lot of
but
work.
it's worth it.
Hmm. No, right? Wow, that's awesome. So thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you for joining today. And I know that a lot of people out there have listened and they definitely have learned something like me. I have, because one part that really resonated with me was the financial part. I must tell you, because when I lost my husband, I lost everything and I lost my credit. I went from very high to underneath, and so you now need to start struggling again. Why? Because of some wrong choices I made because I was grieving. And I know there are a lot of people in those shoes that are really struggling with that right now. So, can you give us like giveaways that these people, audience, can take away today from all that you've said?
Yeah. I would say pick a healing practice, like one or two, and just discipline yourself to focus on those areas. You will notice a difference.
Mm.
If I had to pick one favorite coping skill, it's taking the time to learn how to meditate. It's really hard at first because our thoughts are going around and it's hard to be settled. but just trying different modalities. Don't give up on trying, because the more you can calm your body down, the easier it will be for you to heal. You won't,
Yeah.
and people that meditate every day, they don't have addictions, they don't overspend, they don't have high anxiety, they're not depressed. They can heal their body from physical issues. And when we meditate, we're tuning into God's messages for
Hmm.
us. We're learning how to listen to our intuition, which is God inside of us trying to guide us. So meditation is incredibly powerful and also incredibly difficult. so
Hmm.
so that's
That's
one.
great.
And then
Yeah.
journaling is huge too. Writing out all that junk we hide inside,
Wow.
like everything on paper will really help.
Yes. Wow. Thank you so much. And I will not leave you without giving you this Bible verse, which is cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. Because I got that specifically from what you said, that you had to believe in God, trusting him, lean on him. So in all that you're going through, in all of your anxiety, remember your faith. Remember where you're coming from. Remember whose you are, because we belong to the Almighty. And irrespective of what you're going through, there's still a God that is there and who is close to the brokenhearted and is always ready to help us. He binds up all of our wounds, and when we cast our cares upon him, what will he do? He will heal us perfectly. So I am a living witness and a living testimony to this. And when I say it, I'm saying it because I know that that is what God can do. Also, I will also want you to take home this um, particular word, which is, not out of suffering have emerged the strongest soul, and the most massive characters are scared from scars. So, irrespective of your scars right now, just like Karen, you can imagine all that she went through while she was growing up, and she didn't give up. Rather, she didn't allow those scars to define who she is. She said something. She said it was a turning point for her, and that was one of the reasons what really formed what she's doing today. So, in your grief moments, can you take a moment backward and just think about what you can do, what you can become from this situation? You can be so amazed at what God can do in your life. When you see a raw gold, a raw stone, you will never want it. But when it's refined and it passes through those heat and all those things, then it becomes beautiful and priceless. So that is what God can do through you in your grieving moment. So thank you so much for joining us today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on our Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast. And don't forget to tell your friends that there is this show called Bristol Grace and they need to listen and be part of it. So for you, you too can be part of Grief to Grace. You can support us by getting our book, which is A Pen That Rewrites Grief. It is on all platforms, or you can email me at grieftogracenow@gmail.com, or you can DM me on Grief to Grace on all platforms, and definitely I'll get back to you. So thank you, and remember that your journey from grief to grace is just beginning. God can still do something and use you mightily in this situation. So there are some stuff I learned from all that we've talked about. I learned that healing trauma is a journey and it is not a destination. We also learned that you have to be patient with yourself. You have to surround yourself with supportive and understanding people who will encourage your growth, like Corinne. You need someone like Karen in your life, and you also need to embrace your story and use it as a source of strength and inspiration for others. Thank you so much for joining us today, and don't forget to go to check out Karen on her website, which is healthrivedream.com, or her Facebook, which is Heal Thrive Dream, or her YouTube, which is Trauma Recovery Expert, or Instagram, which is Heal Thrive Dream. So till we meet again next time, remain blessed. I remain Ruth Hephzibah, and she is Karen, and we are here to share what God is doing through our lives and moving us from grief to grace and from pain to purpose. Have a very blessed day. Bye.